right, AOA podcast. Oh my goodness. The entire Wednesday show that we had thrown right out the window. We will do this entire episode. You can tell the shorter the rundown is, the bigger and more explosive the actual episode is. And that's what we have for you here with the House Oversight Committee throwing the whole world into a whole mixer over these Trump Epstein emails. I have the full and complete story for you. We'll tell you what Donald Trump didn't do, and then we'll tell you what Donald Trump didn't do, which is part of the problem. Make sure you share this episode, like it on Facebook or YouTube. Again, share it to your Instagram stories. By the way, we're live on Instagram for this special episode for the first time ever. So let everybody know. Replays on Spotify, Amazon Music, and Apple Podcast. It's Epstein. It's Trump. It's Prince Andrew. It's Ghislaine Maxwell. We've got all the juice. We've got all the facts. My friends, we've got a podcast. All right. So it's important to note right off the start that this day went a little bit crazy and haywire. Earlier this morning, when the House Oversight Committee released these newly discovered, I guess you can say, emails coming from Jeffrey Epstein to other people. There is no emails from Jeffrey Epstein to Donald Trump or vice versa. The other thing I want to say right off the top of this episode is, from everything that we can tell, which happened this morning with this release and also subsequently afterwards, is that Donald Trump wasn't involved in any wrongdoing or any activity that would put him in any sort of legal trouble. However, given what he has been saying and what he has been talking about and calling this all a Democratic hoax, is very apparent that that is a lie. It is made up, and perhaps Donald Trump knew way more than he has led on to know. I have the emails. I will share every single one of them with you and read them to you, and we'll go over them. There's three major ones, and we're also trying to track down whether or not a meeting took place between Donald Trump, Jeffrey Epstein, and Prince Andrew. There's lots of conjecture out there right now on that. We started our episode a little bit later than usual because I was trying to track that all down. I'm not ready to throw it all out there yet from what I'm hearing, but supposedly, people are starting to discuss and some people are reporting. I don't know if there's enough information out there to actually back this up, not from what I've seen, but that there was some sort of a meeting, perhaps not in person, which I think is where a lot of the information is not driving together well enough, between those three individuals in 2019, just prior to Epstein's arrest. And if that's true, that is even more damning and more of an issue. But all of these things take place basically going back to around 2011 or so. So it's well after Epstein was already arrested for the original round of crimes, which he was arrested for. So again, his activities were well known. And what we're learning from some of these emails is that perhaps a little bit more known to some than others. And that includes the current president of the United States of America. There was an email on January 31st, 2019, from Jeffrey Epstein to Michael Wolff, the author, who, again, has said a lot of things that are not true, that a victim, who his name has been redacted, was at Mar-a-Lago. Trump said he asked me to resign, Epstein writes, never a member. Of course, he knew about the girls. He asked Ghislaine to stop. So Epstein was writing an email to Michael Wolff where he basically says this victim, whose name was redacted, who we later found out was Virginia Giuffre, because Trump's lawyers, and essentially they were the ones who leaked and put that out there right away, was with him at Mar-a-Lago. Trump said he asked me to resign, never a member ever. Of course, he knew about the girls. He asked Ghislaine to stop. A conversation happened between him and Michael Wolff back in December of 2015, where essentially the conversation started with, I hear CNN planning to ask Trump tonight about his relationship with you, either on air or in scrum afterwards. That was Wolff to Epstein. Epstein responds, if we were able to craft an answer for him, what do you think it should be? And then Michael Wolff wrote back, I think you should let him hang himself. If he says he hasn't been on the plane or to the house, then that gives you a valuable PR and political currency. You can hang him in a way that potentially generates a positive benefit for you. Or if it really looks like he could win, you could save him, generating a debt. Of course, it is possible that when asked, he'll say Jeffrey is a great guy and has gotten a raw deal and is a victim of political correctness, which is to be outlawed in the Trump regime. What's important about this is Michael Wolff is essentially telling Jeffrey Epstein, I know you've done bad things, and you can use this essentially as political capital or a way to blackmail the next president of the United States if he wins. You know, because Wolff at that point is essentially convinced, and still says this to this day, that Trump was at his home down there in, I was about to say West Babylon. That's a town on Long Island, West Palm Beach. And they were very, very close and dear friends and everything like that. Now, it's interesting that Epstein says he was never a member of Mar-a-Lago, because Trump basically said he kicked him out of Mar-a-Lago. But this all surrounds around Virginia Giuffre, who has been on the record saying that Donald Trump never did anything to her and that she never saw Donald Trump do anything inappropriate. But if we're to believe this email from Jeffrey Epstein to Michael Wolff, he's essentially saying, of course, he knew about not essentially, this is a quote from Jeffrey Epstein. Of course, he knew about the girls. He asked Ghislaine to stop. Now, I wonder what Ghislaine Maxwell has to say about this. It's nice to see our numbers going up. Remember, guys, like that. You got to hit the like button right now if you're watching. Appreciate it. But you got to hit the like button. You got to share it to Twitter, Facebook, wherever you can share the episode. You got to put it out there. It's important that people know this, because some people are going to use this as information one way or the other way, right? Virginia Giuffre saying Donald Trump never did anything. The Republicans are going to run out there and say he never did anything. See, even the victim said. And the Democrats are going to, push this their way. But here's the truth of the matter. Is even if he didn't do anything physically to an underage person, he knew about it. He knew about it and he was aware of it. And that is important on so many levels, because I understand it was a different time. I understand the world had changed since Epstein did what he did to himself in prison. I know the world has changed since Me Too came around, and all of this obviously would predate that. It still doesn't excuse the fact that all throughout his first presidency and this current administration, he was asked about Jeffrey Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell, and he lied about those relationships. These are flat out lies. And again, not that I want to get stuck in political games with right versus left, but Bill Clinton was impeached over a lie. He was impeached over a simple lie that was proven, and now you have this guy, and that was just over something that he did and really was only a crime against his wife. Now we're talking about knowing and having knowledge of real crimes and not saying anything, not saying a thing. And what makes this all even worse is that he sat in front of the media and called this all a Democratic hoax. That did not serve him well when he said it. And it's really not serving him well now, because let's not forget, he's lost the support of Candace Owens. He's lost the support of Tucker Carlson. He's lost the support of Megyn Kelly. He's lost the support of Marjorie Taylor Greene. These are significant developments, and it's important. I'm going to get to it because there's more about what the president is losing over this whole Jeffrey Epstein thing. And it all started the day he called this a Democratic hoax. The day he said this is a Democratic hoax, he split MAGA in half. Frank and I have talked about this a whole bunch, and Frank says it's true what President Trump says, that he could kill one of his supporters and they would still all love him. Now we're finding out that that is absolutely not true, because as soon as he said this is a Democratic hoax, he lost a huge chunk of his supporters, starting with a lot of those right-wing media people that I just named: Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, Megyn Kelly, and there's others as well. People that knew this whole charade put on by Kash Patel and Dan Bongino and backed up by the words of President Donald Trump was not only lies, but clearly a coerced, coherent plan put on by those three people and others to knock this very real, very true story down as illegitimate, which it clearly is not. It's just not. Another strange email that was part of this trio of emails that came out essentially said that Trump spent hours, Epstein was writing, Trump spent hours at my house, a victim spent hours at my house with him. Trump was never mentioned. Oh, sorry, that was the Virginia Free thing. What was the one I was missing? The one where he was barking like a dog. There was a strange one. Hold on here. I have it in my notes. I apologize, people. Okay. Jeffrey Epstein to Ghislaine Maxwell on Saturday, April 2nd, 2011. I want you to realize that the dog that hasn't barked is Trump. Victim, redacted, spent hours at my house with him. He has never once been mentioned. Police chief, etc. I'm 75% there. Now, I don't know what the police chief thing is. I don't know what the 75% thing there is. I want you to realize that the dog that hasn't barked is Trump is a reference to, it's a Sherlock Holmes reference, something about a clue. So again, I don't really know what that is. But again, if Trump says he was never at his house and Jeffrey Epstein said he was, if Virginia Giuffre said he never did anything wrong, but he spent time with the future president of the United States, how could we not triangulate that they were really close friends and that Donald Trump did spend time at his home? And you can't convince me that anybody who was that close and spent time didn't really know the ins and outs of it all. And again, you put that together with Donald Trump on the record saying, oh, he likes him young, acting like, he's dating 21-year-olds, 22-year-olds when it's really 16 and 14-year-olds. I mean, if you knew that information, if you asked Ghislaine Maxwell to have him stop and you didn't go to the police and you didn't go to the authorities, that would be bad. It would be really bad if you were asked while under oath being the president of the United States about these people and you go, oh, I wish her well. When a reporter asks you, how do you feel about Ghislaine Maxwell? Oh, I wish her well. What's really bad on top of that is if you have your assistant deputy attorney general meet with the living survivor of one of the largest rings that we've ever seen, one of the most evil rings we've ever seen, have a 9-hour meeting over 2 days, and then suddenly she gets transferred to a much easier and nicer federal prison facility, one that doesn't even have a gate. One where she curls up with the warden and has the warden emailing her and doing favors for her and things like that. Admittedly, we know that now because we caught communications coming from Ghislaine Maxwell, right? And then it would be really, really, really bad if you said, oh, my political opponents are just using this against me. It's all a hoax. That's really bad. That's really, really, really bad. Because you can't stop the lies that you're telling. And it's going to cost you your supporters, your base. I mean, it already, like him saying it, all those right-wing people who left him, look at all the voters who left him. The Democrats using this Jeffrey Epstein as a hoax was followed up by an off year, not a mid-year, not a midterm election, not a presidential year election, an off year election, you getting a royal shellacking. And I look at Marjorie Taylor Greene, who stood on the steps of the Capitol with the Epstein victims, cheered them on, said she would be there for them. Then she goes on The View. Then she sits with Megyn Kelly and confirms new Epstein information for us just the other day. And she has just continued to go on her path. They asked President Trump about Marjorie Taylor Greene the other day, and he goes, oh, well, she lost her way. She lost her way. Well, did she? Or did she realize our Trojan horse, our end-all, be-all, has weakened? There's a weak link in the chain. His armor is no longer there. His protection is no longer there. Now, we know he was always marching towards that because he's a lame duck president. He can't run for another term if you choose to ignore Steve Bannon and the Constitution and logic. But even Trump admittedly never committed to any of that stuff. So if you're, believing all that stuff, he's headed towards no power anymore anyway. We don't know what it's going to look like. This party, this MAGA movement, what it looks like if 3 years from now, let's say his administration is wildly successful. Is J.D. Vance the one who's going to carry that torch? Are the people that pleased with him? Is he doing enough as a vice president? These are all questions. It could be. He could be fine. It could be, wonderful. But it also could not be. But now you shorten that down to it only took him 10 months to give up everything he's worked for because he accused the Democrats of being on a Jeffrey Epstein hoax, which nobody believes. I mean, nobody believes. And even the people that are like, I support him, and if he says it was, even those people, I feel like when they lay their head down on the pillow at night, they really don't believe that. They really don't truly believe that Jeffrey Epstein trafficked young girls to no one. They don't believe that Ghislaine Maxwell is in prison for assisting Jeffrey Epstein for trafficking girls to no one. They don't believe that Andrew, former prince, paid off Ghislaine Maxwell for absolutely no reason. I mean, the myriad of things going up and down the aisle here of what it just doesn't make sense. We've never seen Donald Trump make a bigger mistake over the course of his short-lived political life than Jeffrey Epstein. Oh, that's a Democratic hoax. That was the biggest mistake this guy has ever made. And we're talking about grab him by the you-know-what. We're talking about Kofifi. We're talking about all these, the thing is just going to go away. And all the not handling the pandemic the right way, everything, all the stuff, all the mistakes you add up, it all pales in comparison to, Epstein, that's a Democratic hoax. I mean, it's unbelievable. I was a believer, too, that this guy could have killed somebody on Fifth Avenue and kept all his followers. And it didn't even have to get that extreme. All it was a few simple words that he said himself that didn't have to be. Which, again, leaves me with the question today, even more so now than I've ever had before. Why? Why? What changed? Was it the Israel stuff? Again, we learned last episode, Marjorie Taylor Greene tied Epstein to the former Israeli defense minister. Was that it? Was it our other foreign governments? Were you protecting somebody else in your thing? Or are we now kind of learning, maybe he was protecting himself? Maybe like a lot of other scandals that he's tried to avoid and navigate, if he just throws cold water on it, that it's a hoax from the other political side, all his people will go along. Well, you know what? It didn't work this time. And give credit to Marjorie Taylor Greene. Give credit to Candace Owens. I don't get to say that often. Give credit to Tucker Carlson. Those last two are two people I disagree with a lot on a lot of different things, not just political stuff. I don't really love where Candace Owens is going with this whole Charlie Kirk thing. I just don't. I get it. I understand. I see the links she's getting to. I don't think she's got enough evidence to be talking about it that much. I don't really go for I'm just putting the truth out there as I see fit. Yeah, but the more you learn, that can change. So that's why you wait for sources to confirm stuff. That's why you go with two sources. That's why you wait for factual evidence to come forward. It's okay to be suspicious, pontificate, wonder, but not the way she's doing it. Anyway, I don't want to make it all about her. But Megyn Kelly even, and I mean, you go up and down the list of all these Republicans that now suddenly are like, well, I can't go with him on that one. It's amazing to me. I didn't think it would be this. I honestly didn't think Trump could blow it. I feel like he built such a lead and the Democrats have screwed up so much that I honestly thought he would coast through the next 4 years and be pretty okay. And now here we are, just 10 months into his second term as president of the United States. And he blew it. He blew an easy one. He blew an easy one. He didn't have to get in front of this thing. He didn't have to get in front of this thing. And he did. And I don't know why. I don't know why. I'm befuddled. I can't figure it out. I didn't think he would blow this one. But he did. He did. And again, you can sit there and be like, well, but Aunt, we can't believe Jeffrey Epstein. He was a liar. Fair. But at the same time, I don't think Jeffrey Epstein was writing these emails in 2011, in 2015, in 2019, thinking that podcast hosts would be reading them aloud. I don't think, I don't doubt that the guy was a bullshit artist. I don't doubt that the guy lied a lot. I mean, we know he did. I don't doubt that the guy boasted about knowing different famous people when he really didn't. But these were his close personal friends. Ghislaine, his confidant. Michael Wolff. This idea, and Michael Wolff he's a wolf, he's a scoundrel. I don't really love that guy. For him to be like, hey, I know you've had some trouble, but now you have a chip and now you have this and that, and you could use all these things, I mean, how do you not buy into what we've seen today? And look at his reaction. Donald Trump's reaction was everything. He immediately, as soon as this broke earlier today, he immediately took to Truth Social. This was the first message he said. The Democrats are trying to bring up the Jeffrey Epstein hoax again because they'll do anything at all to deflect on how badly they've done on the shutdown and so many other subjects. Only very bad or stupid Republican would fall into that trap. The Democrats cost our country $1.5 trillion with their recent antics of viciously closing our country, while at the same time putting many at risk. They should pay a fair price. There should be no deflections to Epstein or anything else, and any Republicans involved should be focused only on opening up our country and fixing the massive damage caused by the Democrats. Why are you trying so hard to keep your Republican friends in line if you're not afraid that you're losing them? Because you are. You've lost Marjorie Taylor Greene. Thomas Massie was the one who put this bill forward to go against Mike Johnson's refusal for putting this to a vote. We're told, and there's several reports out there, that as soon as this happened, Trump contacted Lauren Boebert because he knew he didn't have a shot with Marjorie Taylor Greene. He knew he couldn't get Thomas Massie. It's his bill. So he tried to get Boebert back on his side to not sign this petition. By the way, the young lady from Arizona was sworn in and the petition was signed. So that's happening. And not only did Trump not get Boebert to come to his side, although if she winds up flipping and flopping on this, I don't know. But honestly, look at it from Boebert's standpoint. Can you even? I mean, she's got to be sitting there going, hang on a second. All the big right-wing political podcast people are abandoning him. He just lost this off-year election. She knows in her heart, as we all do, that this isn't a hoax. Suddenly his coattails aren't worth riding anymore. That's what I'm saying. If 3 years from now or 2.5 years from now, we knew he was going to be a lame duck because he's not going to run for a third term, let's assume that's the world we're living in. That gets shortened to today. That gets shortened to this whole thing is a Democratic hoax. And she's got to be looking at that going, I need to get reelected. If my constituents are not happy with him saying this, why am I going to side with him? What can he provide for me? This threat of we're going to primary you. The little beating you just took from the Democrats shows that you may not have the power you think you have. And again, the Republicans are in charge. It's not like it was 2 years ago, 3-4 years ago when the Democrats were in charge. It was easy to get mad and angry at the Democrats for what they were doing. But now the Republicans are in charge. So it's easy to get angry at the Republicans because they're the ones in charge. And if people aren't happy, they get mad at who's in charge. And that's what's happening. So why would Lauren Boebert flip? But I want to tell you this, because it's not just Lauren Boebert flipping, but Don Bacon and reportedly 3 other Republicans flipped their side to not sign the thing, and now they're going to sign it. That's the worst thing that can happen to you if you're President Donald Trump. Not only can you not get Lauren Boebert back from the brink, but suddenly all the other Republicans are reading the tea leaves going, hang on a second. I got to get on the right side of this on history. When they look back on this and they were like, who voted against this or who tried to help Donald Trump keep this a secret or pretend like it was a Democratic hoax? I don't want my name to be associated with it. That's what Don Bacon did today. And that's what supposedly 3 other Republicans are doing because they're all those 3 are going. And if the original 4 stay true, which again, Massey and Marjorie Taylor Greene, they're not backing down off of this. If it gets out, which it has, that you tried to flip Boebert back to the other side and she doesn't, and now 4 other Republicans are going, you could see a path to them not even needing this thing. And Mike Johnson turning around and going, listen, we'll release everything. Because there's still a long way to go on that path. On the path to having that, those 218 signatures, having that, I mean, they got the signatures today, right? And again, we learned that the Republicans, now there's 4 more Republicans that want to sign the petition as well. But that's just not the end of it. You know, a discharge petition has to go a long way. Once they get the 218 votes, they can force a floor vote. Again, that's what overrides the Speaker of the House. If that passes, they would still have to pass the bill in the Senate, which is led by the GOP, right? They've got a lead in the Senate. So the chances of that happening are not great. Once it gets through there, it has to get signed by Donald Trump. Well, of course, he's not going to sign it. And then once that happens, then they have to override the veto of the president. So it's still a long way to go. But those were the talking points I prepared for you this morning before these emails were leaked. Before we knew Lauren Boebert's not going to change her mind. Before we knew that Don Bacon and the other 3 Republicans aren't switching over to the side to sign that petition because they want to be on the right side of history. Now, what if Mike Johnson can't stop this and it happens and the floor vote goes and it passes the House? Now it goes to the Senate. Now you have Senate Republicans looking at this going, well, he just lost the election. He said this is a hoax and we know that's not it. I'm not going to lay down for him on this one. He's not going to get me reelected. You better believe that all of these House of Representatives and senators are polling their constituents as we speak. And they don't care what the Democrats have to say. They're polling Republicans in their district. What do you think about the president calling this a hoax? What do you think about the job that the president is doing? I mean, it's a tough task what Donald Trump had to do. Use tariffs to equalize the world trade and reduce costs. That's a long-term thing. That stuff doesn't happen. He made a mistake when he said, well, it'll happen in the first couple. That was a mistake because it had a slim to none chance of succeeding to begin with. And if it did, it would take a long, long time. If it did, and now the big, beautiful bill and everything that's going on with that, people are looking at their healthcare costs for next year. I mean, it's November. Usually people re-up for their healthcare in December, January, right? That's when that kind of stuff happens. People are staring down the barrel of higher healthcare costs, higher groceries, a stock market that's very dependent on NVIDIA and the AI chip makers and everything else doing well. I mean, this isn't political. You take away those AI companies off the stock market isn't as strong as it looks when you put those in there. Those 4 or 5 companies are really raising that S&P 500 and some of the other, the Dow and NASDAQ and all that stuff. You know what I mean? So this falls and crumbles for this administration very, very quickly when you start to add all that up. And when you get Republicans looking at this going, well, it was a good time and all, but sorry, your coattails aren't what they were. I got to get elected again, and now I got to be on the other side of this. This can go very bad for the president very, very quickly. Very, very quickly. Now, maybe he survives it. I mean, he's survived everything else we thought was going not in his direction. Grab him by the what and all the other things. He's survived all that other stuff. The accusations against him, the other lawsuits, him being convicted, all that. He's survived all that stuff. I don't know. This one, I don't know. We'll see. Time will tell. I can't imagine having a good feeling about it if you're a supporter. I mean, how could you listen? I have a lot of great Republican friends, a lot of people that I know that are proud Republicans, and every last one of them stood there with pride when he said, I'll release the Epstein files. I'll release the JFK files. No problem. I'm going to do it. Every one of them stood there with their chest out. All my friends with their chest out being like, this is the president we need. Not that sleepy guy. My Democratic friends couldn't say much. As an independent, I sat there and went, I'll be interested to see if he does this. This would be great. If we get to the truth of the matter, be great. And to 180 on that and call it a hoax. Wow. Wow. It's like watching a pitcher just hang a meatball over the middle of the plate when his team has a 3-2 lead in the bottom of the 9th. And there's a runner on, and he just hangs a meatball, and you see the swing. And before the camera switches to the outfield view, you just know by the sound of the ball hitting a bat and the people's initial reaction, the instant it happens, you just know, oh, this is over. That's exactly what it was like watching those words come out of Donald Trump's mouth of this is a Democratic hoax. Holy shnikes, that was a mistake. And again, he scrambles a redacted victim's name in the email, and he scrambles to put that out there. I have to tell you, for somebody who's been observing both of these parties and has watched the Democrats just fall and trip over their own shoelaces, they could not have physically played this any better. Virginia Giuffre is on the record with a lot of things. She has never, ever, ever once shied away from expressing and telling everybody everything that happened to her in regards to Jeffrey Epstein. She took Andrew to task, settled with him. She wrote a book where she spelled a lot of this out. She's hidden nothing. And the Democrats put these emails out with her name redacted. You think that was a mistake? It wasn't. It wasn't. I really believe they sat there and they thought, if we redact her name, it'll look like who's this victim, and he'll be forced to put her name out there. And that will make him look even more guilty. And it does. And it worked. Because why would he scramble so quickly to do it? When this all happened, within 45 minutes, maybe an hour and a half, I don't know. I was running around today. He had it out there. His people had it out there that it was Virginia Giuffre, because they needed people to know that he didn't actually do anything wrong to that victim in this particular case. But that's not the damage that was done. The damage was the lies. The damage was you turned your back on more than half of the people that put you in that office because they wanted to know this stuff. Because prior to this, yes, Trump's name was associated with Jeffrey Epstein, but Bill Clinton was the poster boy of somebody did something wrong with this guy. The flights, the flight logs, the photographs with him and the people, the confirmation that they did the Africa trip, all the stuff. The photos of them of Ghislaine Maxwell at their daughter's wedding. I forget her name. What's the daughter's name? Chelsea? Everything. Clinton was the poster boy. And by the way, that whole entire time, I sat there and I said, nobody's ever said Donald Trump has done anything wrong. And I still say it to this day. But it has changed when he told that lie that this is a Democratic hoax. It changes today when you go to find out really, really how close he was. And that started with the birthday letter, and some of the other stuff that we started to hear. And by the way, the Democrats, again, they redact her name and they release it this morning. That's no mistake. And you could sit there and go, see, it's politically motivated. It very well may be, but it doesn't change the fact that he said these things and he's lied about these people openly to the American public. And that's something that people who have wanted the truth about this, who voted for him because he ran on this, they don't play. They don't play. And now all his friends are looking at him like, well, what are you going to do for me? You're not the same juggernaut that you were 3 months ago. You're not. What are you going to do for me? What's J.D. Vance going to do? What's J.D. Vance thinking right now? Because he's got to be thinking, oh, fuck. Shit. I was going to ride these 4 years into 8 years of me being the president of the United States. I mean, if I'm J.D. Vance, I'm thinking, can he get the boot for this? I mean, if I'm going to be president, should it start in 2026? Because that's going to start coming up next. You think that people aren't going to start talking about impeachment? You think if this doesn't turn, if the Republicans lose the midterms, it's over. It's over. And you don't think that the Democrats are going to beat this drum all the way to the midterms? You don't think we're going to see Donald Trump 17 times a day on a commercial saying that this is a Democratic hoax and then see these emails next to it? You don't think we're going to see that? You don't think that's going to peel votes away from people? You don't think that they're going to have Donald Trump saying this, have these emails flash on the screen, and then put whatever candidate in the Republican Party in that ad going, this person refused to sign the letter. This person refused to vote to have these files released so we could get to the truth. You don't think that's going to cost Republicans votes in the midterms? I mean, it's over. It's over. It would be some kind of magical, unicorn, fairy, pixie dust maneuvering for him to pull out of this one, because right now it's an airplane and an absolute nosedive. I mean, a nosedive. It's really bad. And the Democrats redacted her name and they waited till this morning. The Democrats were upset that some of their own went over to the other side and ended this shutdown without them really getting anything out. I mean, it's a big L for the Democrats there. And instead of celebrating, Trump's on the defense because somebody in that party finally grew a brain and they were like, not a problem. Shutdown doesn't look good for anybody, but let's put this little nugget out there. I mean, it's no mistake this was released this morning. No mistake. And you can't fault the Democrats for it. Don't sit there and be like, well, it's politically bullshit. There's fire where this smoke is coming out of. You know, there's fire there. Believe me, there's fire there. Let's see here. The White House also did emphasize today that Trump kicked Epstein out of Mar-a-Lago decades ago for inappropriate behavior. Again, according to that Epstein email, that wasn't true. He said he is never a member. Let me see here. I gave you all the Virginia. Sorry, I got all passion. Oh, okay. All right. Here's another wrinkle into this whole thing. There was another bunch of emails that's not getting as much play. Catherine Rumler is a former White House counsel to President Barack Obama. Those emails show close casual contact between Rumler and Epstein, including frequent political chatter ahead of the 2016 election. In January 23 of 2016, Epstein writes in an email, "My memory is a friend killer. I stopped talking to Clinton when he swore with wholehearted conviction that he had done something. He had forgotten that he also swore the exact opposite to me only weeks before." This contradicts Clinton's public line that he cut off Epstein, suggesting Epstein believed he was the one to end the friendship. Rumler's response and characterization of Clinton: she pushes Epstein to tell her what happened. She then writes that Clinton is very close to being a psychopath and that he has no conscience, and it's scary. Epstein acknowledges he was wrong in some prior judgment about Clinton, admits Rumler was right about Clinton's inability to apologize or take responsibility. This was all in 2016 emails. A later 2018 email shows physicist Lawrence Krauss sending Epstein a proposed Men of the World conference invite list, including Bill Clinton, Kevin Spacey, Al Franken, and Woody Allen, all high-profile men with sexual misconduct allegations attached. Not great. An ex-Obama lawyer in there calling the former Democratic president a psychopath. Again, this goes to show you how long this has been traveling around for. And if an Obama lawyer knew this and Trump came in after Obama, not good. Not good. Again, it wasn't good that Trump put what's his name in for the first time, the guy who gave him the sweetheart deal to begin with. Remember, that was one of the few people Trump put up for his cabinet that didn't make it because of those Epstein ties. And people thought back, I'm sure you could go back and find a podcast episode back then where I said, well, that's not good. It's not off to a good start for the Trump administration. Well, he survived that. I don't know if he's going to survive this. Yeah, the original four are Lauren Boebert, Thomas Massie, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and Nancy Mace. He's making a play for Boebert. Also Mace. He doesn't think he can get the other two. I don't think he can get the other two. I don't think he can get any of these four. You know, Boebert has publicly called for a special counsel when it comes to this Epstein case. You know, But you could see in his Truth Social posts, he's putting the pressure on Republicans. I don't know if he has as big of a bat as he had a few weeks ago. And it'll be really sad for him. Really, really sad for him. And really, really sad for his legacy if he trips over his own self and causes all of this all on his own. You know, it would be really, really bad. Alex Acosta. Thank you, everybody. I always forget Alex Acosta's name. It was Alex Acosta. He tried to put Alex Acosta up for a spot, and he got denied, and it was all the Epstein stuff, and Alex Acosta was the guy who gave him the deal. Not great. Not great. And by the way, and this is just the beginning. This is just emails that the House Oversight Committee has. And they waited for the right time. I'm telling you, we're a year away. Well, a little less than a year away from the midterm elections. This is going to be all over the place. The president hasn't really been in front of media for the most part to answer this. It's been a lot of Truth Social and everything else. What's that first scrum going to be like? What's tomorrow's White House briefing going to be? How are they going to handle any of this? Because they poorly handled it from the beginning, and that's why they're in this spot to begin with. And if you are a Trump supporter, and you are still a Trump supporter, if you think this is a political hoax, you have to write me. I have to hear from you. I have to know how you think that way. I have to know how he's been able to hold on to you, but can't hold on to Candace Owens, can't hold on to Tucker Carlson, can't hold on to Megyn Kelly, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Lauren Boebert. How's he losing all these other people, but he still has you? I'd love to know. I would love to know. Because I have to be honest with you. The next time I get into a Facebook fight with one of my friends online, I'd be really, really careful because I don't see a defense for this. He went from the one out to find out all these people and root out all these evil to being the person who is protecting all that evil. And getting his cronies, Kash Patel and Dan Bongino, to go look at what are those two going to do? They don't have the presidency to fall back on. What's Kash Patel and Dan Bongino going to do? Dan Bongino's over. It's done. His reputation is got what little of one he had. What Dan Bongino going to do after this? Dan Bongino waved the flag for Donald Trump, saying that there was nothing else to see here. That's it. It's over. There's no going back to your podcast after this. Dan Bongino is done. It's over for Dan Bongino. It's over. You can't go back. I didn't think he had a shot at it beforehand, but now, how are you going to go back and telling everybody I'm a truth seeker? I'm here for the truth. I want to find out what really happened. Who's going to take you seriously? Who is going to take you seriously now? I mean, that's 48 minutes on one topic. I don't know. I don't know if we can continue to beat this drum. I also don't know what happened in the last 48 minutes. I mean, who knows? Who knows what could have happened since we got on the air? Does anybody have anything? Is there any breaking news here that I should know about? It is an amazing day. I mean, it really is. This is a historical day. Because again, this blew up and we talked about how bad I thought this was, him saying this in the beginning, but this just makes that whole day that he said Democratic hoax for the first time even worse. Even worse. Paul wants Roxy to Roxy, did you answer me? I don't want to force anybody into this. Blah, 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 blah. Oh, she did say, I disagree. There you go. I'm all ears. You know, again, Rox, I'm happy to hear you out. It's kind of tough. I have the microphone and you're just typing. That's like it's an unfair thing. But I'm happy to hear out your logic and your reasoning. Again, I don't doubt it's politically motivated. The timing of it all is entirely politically motivated. But can you argue with the substance? And again, and now I will concede any Republican's point. Yes, it's politically motivated by the Democrats. Yes, it's all just from Jeffrey Epstein, and there's no substantial, real hardcore linking evidence. But again, can you sit there and tell me that Jeffrey Epstein, while he's having these conversations in 2011, 2016, and 2019, expected podcast hosts and the public at large to be discussing this? Even if you want to throw out the Michael Wolff stuff, the email alone to Ghislaine Maxwell casually mentioning it, that Virginia Giuffre was there and Trump was there the whole time, and the whole Sherlock Holmes line and all that stuff. It's just too much stuff. It's just too much stuff pointing to the fact that he knew. And again, this is what I want my Republican friends to realize. You don't need Donald Trump to have done anything to an underage girl to have done something wrong in this situation. You know what I'm saying? And again, even if you're going to give me the argument, well, times were different back then, it was pre-Me Too, and all that stuff. He has lied about this and downplayed this way too many times while he was in office, while he swore an oath. He has lied and misled people way too many times about this. Everything from I wish her well all the way up to this is a Democratic hoax. He's lied about all of this. And if he's lying about this, what else is he lying about? What else does he know? How much did he really know? Because again, we know he said, oh, he likes them young. That we publicly saw on, I think it was the Howard Stern show. I'm not entirely sure. It might have been somewhere else. But we know Donald Trump said that about Epstein. You know? But this will tell us how much he really, really, really knew. And even if you're going to discount the letter, the birthday, all these little things, it's just way too many things adding up to this guy is lying about it. And again, don't take it from me. Go ask Candace Owens. Go ask Tucker Carlson. Go ask Megyn Kelly. We can't all be falling for those Democrats and their crazy little tricks. Can we? I don't think so. Because I don't give a shit about right versus left. In fact, I say it all the time and take pride in it. I don't want to get involved in their bullshit. But I do care about the truth. And I do know where there's smoke, there's fire. And there's just too many smoke columns coming out of this area of the forest for me not to think there's a fire over here. And again, is he protecting himself? Was he protecting himself this whole time? Not good. Is he protecting somebody else? Really not good. And the problem is now, Rox and everybody else, how do you prove? You can't trust anything? I mean, I already know half the country doesn't trust half of everything that he says. I mean, the guy can't do anything right in half the country's eyes. Again, not even in counting that. How can you trust anything from this point of what he says? Can't be done. Ryan started the fire. Well placed, Robin. Comment of the episode nomination, our first. You can tell I haven't been paying attention because I know there's been great comments and I'm only doing the first nomination 53 minutes into the episode. That's bad. That is 5 podcast host points off of your old pal Ant. All right, let's let Rox have her say. There's news that y'all get and we get. There's lies, but Giuffre worked. Is that Giuffre? Worked at Mar-a-Lago and her dad did too. He told Epstein not to take his employees. People knew about Epstein, but he turned this over too. Paul, who's Ryan? The Office. Come on, Paul, get with it. Caitlin just got home and the Northern Lights are wild right now. So are the Epstein emails. The Epstein emails and the Northern Lights are wild right now. The federal judges wouldn't let it. Listen, if you're not convinced yet, Rox, that's cool. But when all the rest of this stuff comes flooding out, what else is going to be in there? What else is it? Because I will be shocked and stunned, and I will come on this podcast, Rox, and publicly apologize to you if we get the whole slew of all those files. And I mean everything. I mean, not just the stuff from the grand jury, not just the stuff that Kash Patel was talking about. I'm talking about everything. I'm talking about the video surveillance footage. I'm talking about the endless amount of testimonies that people gave to the sheriff down in West Palm Beach that was suddenly sacked and put away. I'm talking about all that stuff. If we get all that stuff out there and there's not more implications that Donald Trump was hanging around on top of the dancing videos and all the stuff that they were friends and pals, and come on, man. Come on. There's no way. There's no way he didn't know. And again, I would argue, and you could ask Robin, you could ask Paul, Miss Justice, Bird. I've taken a lot of shit from them over the last couple of years, beating that drum of nobody has said Donald Trump did anything wrong when it came to Epstein. You know, it's wrong to cover up for him. And it's really wrong to cover up for him when you're the president of the United States. That's a lie. That's lying under oath. I mean, if people can't see that, Rox, if you can't see that that's bad. I mean, again, I love you, appreciate you for being here, but I can't help you. You know, I feel like I'm saying that phrase a lot. My wife is getting tired of me hearing it. I can't help you. You know, I'm at the age where it's like I can only do the best I can, and then at some point I gotta just go, okay, you know. It's if people can't connect the fact that covering up for this guy is a bad thing, you know, you may believe somebody is 95% good, but if they helped cover up for the world's worst pedophile ever, it's not a good. It erases all that other thing, all those other good things you did, you know. It really erases all those other good things you did, you know. And, you know, very well said by Bird here. I mean, it's easy for us to judge from our ivory towers, but being quiet is wrong. Yeah. I talk about this all the time. I don't want to get stuck in weird situations. I've said this before. I don't want to witness a car accident or witness somebody shooting somebody. I don't want to have to sit through there, all that kind of stuff, and be the brave person, you know. Nobody wants to do that. Nobody wants to do that. But it's a different thing when you're the president of the United States, you know. It's a different thing when you don't say anything. It's a different thing when you're asked time and time and time again. What do you think about Ghislaine Maxwell? Oh, I wish her well. Again, he didn't have to say that. He could have just said, I don't think anything. She got convicted by a jury of her peers. She deserves to serve time. That's the thing to say. You know, that's the thing to say. Rock says, I don't think he covered it up. Paul says, I don't think he covered up Epstein, just his own involvement. Either way is bad in my book. You know, either way is bad in my book. I mean, think about it. You have plenty of things to get upset with the Democrats over. Don't throw this on. Don't throw this log onto the fire. It's unnecessary. Again, think of all the victims out there. I mean, I think that's what my problem is. I've read a lot of things that this guy did, a lot of things. And I can't imagine knowing about this stuff and acting like, well, I wish her well, you know, or don't be stupid and bring this Epstein thing up again. It's just a hoax. I couldn't imagine saying that after knowing and reading 1/10 of what his victims have said publicly and behind closed doors that have been, you know, since released. I can't. How could you live with yourself? And then subsequently, and Rox, not to make you feel bad, or anybody else that support Rox is taking it on the chin right now because and I'm good for you, Rox. You stand up for what you believe in. But anybody else who's like, I don't know how you stand next to that person and be like, yeah, it's okay. I don't know how at the very least you go, well, I'm not ready to vote Democrat, but I cannot possibly sit here and still say that he's handled this well or he's done a good job with this one. You know, I don't know. I don't know. Don't know how you do that. This is crazy, but it is worth just kind of noting a little bit. And it's not Trump or Epstein related, but we've been following the Diddy thing a lot, and we reported the other day that he might have gotten in trouble for drinking in prison. That whole Fanta sugary drink that he made turned into alcohol some way, shape, or form. I'm not entirely sure. He was given the 50-month federal sentence after being convicted in July on 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution. Sentenced in October of 2025, transferred to Fort Dix Federal Prison in New Jersey on October 30th of 2025. The original projected release date for him was May 8th of 2028. That has been pushed back now to June 4th, 2028, meaning he'll spend a couple extra weeks behind bars after these alleged rule violations. Again, the Fanta alcohol, also supposedly now the new thing that was released or reported today by People Magazine, that there was an unauthorized 3-way phone call, which authorities treated as violation of community rules. Diddy's team is denying all this, saying he's sober, disciplined, and compliant. Of course, they have to say that because they still want him to get out for good behavior. They claim the 3-way call was initiated by an attorney and should be protected by attorney-client privilege, and that not punishment or misconduct. Supposedly, he's working as in the library and participating in mandatory programming, including rehab-type offerings, but no explanation as to why they go from May. Almost he got an extra month, without explanation. That, again, I don't have hard, substantial evidence until the president comes out and says, yeah, he did this, and that's why we give him an extra month. One has to assume that this Fanta, alcohol thing, along with the 3-way call, was the leading factors to him getting that extra month. So we'll, of course, keep our eye on Diddy. Diddy, who, by the way, was bragging that he's going to get a Trump pardon. I don't know. I don't know. I don't want to oversell this. I really, really don't. But if this continues, if it continues to go the way it's going, I shouldn't say this. This is a mistake. This is going to get Democrats way too excited. But the Republicans, both these parties just thrive on power. They need it. If he becomes a lame duck just 10 months in, you've got to think they're going to start talking about how we can get rid of this guy. Because I've long felt that they all really don't care for him. They just want the power that comes with Donald Trump. They want the power which he provides them. If that's not there, and the Republicans can't get anything else they want to get done, if by the time March, April, May of 2026 rolls around and polling starts to tell everybody that the Republicans are losing, one's got to think they might try and make a move. Because again, if you're Will, bless your heart. Bless your heart. Will says, Aunt, you my VP. I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that, Will. I've never been, I'm assuming you mean vice president and not like, I was trying to think of something bad. That has the initials of VP. I don't know. But Will, I want to give you a compliment back and just tell you you're my Secretary of State, my friend. If I'm your VP, then you're my Secretary of State. And that's a bond that nobody can break. All right. We're going to take that to the, we're going to take that to our graves together, man. This is a good thing from Rox here. If you can't see the good that Trump has done, then I'm disappointed in you all. Rox, I'm going to agree with you. I don't think he gets some of the credit that he deserves for some of the things he's done. I think things are kind of getting stacked against him with the economy, healthcare, grocery costs, some of those things, the tariff costs. I think a lot of that stuff is lying, but I'm not ready to bury him as a failure as a president yet, to be fair. To be fair. And even, we can roll in that this is all really Obama's fault for Obamacare and all that stuff, but there was an opportunity to fix this the first time around. It didn't get done. Nothing happened under Biden. Not that party is going to flip against Obama, and they didn't, which you can throw some blame their way for that. I'm totally okay with that. But here we are now, and there's no real viable solution there from Trump, the Republicans, the Democrats, or any of them. And they should all catch some blame for that. But again, he did something that nobody else could do: peace between Israel and Palestine. Even as many bumps in the roads that has had, he gets credit for that. And he did a phenomenal job, and it was his brand of craziness and wackiness that got us to this place. And he should be celebrated for that till the end of time, or till it falls. And even if it does fall tomorrow, that peace plan, he still got way farther than anybody else could get. I give him all the credit in the world for that. I didn't get upset about the White House and all that stuff. Look, he does what he, look, I'm not one of big taste. It ain't my taste, all the gold shit and whatever. But, a lot of the flack that he gets is, just the other side being upset, which is, that's what happens to all the presidents nowadays, though, But I'm with you. If you can't see some of the good that he has done, it can't all be bad. I would say this to Frank all the time. Every day can't all be the worst day ever. But this is bad to me. I mean, this is bad. And what makes it really bad is he campaigned that he was going to put this sort of thing to an end. And now here he is on the other side of it. And now we're just getting nothing but more and more evidence that he knew a lot more than he let on to. And he lied about it several times over the course of his presidency. That's bad. That's bad. Lying about catching brains in the White House from an intern, bad. Right? I mean, we would all agree, morally, ethically, religiously, bad. Cheating on your spouse, bad. Cheating on your spouse as president of the United States, very bad. Cheating on your spouse as president of the United States with an intern while lying about it while under oath, super duper, uber bad. Lying and protecting a pedophile, helping out a pedophile's accomplice get a better sweetheart deal. How are we not to believe that Todd Blanche went down there just to make sure Ghislaine Maxwell wouldn't say shit about Donald Trump? A pardon was arranged for future time, and she got moved to a sweetheart place in the meantime. How are we not to believe that with where we're at today and where she's at and those emails from her that just got leaked? How is this not orchestrated by the president of the United States? I refuse to believe that this is all just a coincidence proposed by the Democrats. It's not. It's not. We're not imagining this. Chuck Schumer had nothing to do with Ghislaine Maxwell being moved to Texas and a place that doesn't even have a gate. Calling that a prison feels like a lie. You know what I mean? None of this is coincidence. None. And you have to think the plan was, after JD is elected president in 2028, as Donald Trump is heading to the Capitol to watch JD Vance get sworn in, we get the news Ghislaine Maxwell was pardoned. How can we not think anything else? With everything that we've seen today, with him calling this a hoax, with her getting moved after the deputy attorney general went down there for 9 hours and spoke to her for 9 hours over 2 days. Where's that transcript? Oh, we didn't get it. We never got it. There's only so much we could blame the Democrats for. Believe me, they got a lot of blame in my book. Big problem. Big problem. But nothing to do with this. Right now, they're playing the political game and they're playing chess, and it's working. And it's working because there's fire where this smoke is. All right. I can't keep beating the same drum here. Anything else we didn't cover? Oh boy, I had such a fun show today. Lots of fun stuff. We'll do it on Friday. We'll do it live. You know? Oh, the other thing that Donald Trump said after the first Truth Social, he wrote, in other words, the Democrats are using the Jeffrey Epstein hoax to try and deflect from their massive failures, in particular their most recent one, the shutdown. Okay. Still doesn't look good for you. You know? So, I mean, okay. It doesn't look good for you. Again, point out the Democrat. Point out the Democrat that forced you to move Ghislaine Maxwell to a better facility. Point him out. Point him out. Point out the Democrat that sent Todd Blanche down there for 9 hours to talk with her just prior to her getting moved. Point out the Democrat that destroyed the tape of the two of them talking for 9 hours. Point it out. Point out the Democrat that told him to blame them. Point out the Democrat that told Donald Trump to wish Ghislaine Maxwell well when she was heading to prison, knowing full well what their history was together. It's taken us a long time to put it all together through these emails and all this leaked stuff. And imagine what we'll know once it all comes out. Imagine what we'll know then. Because again, if it stops here, I would be fucking dumbfounded. I'd be surprised as all hell. It would still be enough for me to say that this guy's got to go. Again, the Democrats are going to start talking about impeachment soon. Again, they're going to start talking about it. And the Republicans, if they see that he can't win them re-election in the midterms, are they going to defend him? Or is he suddenly going to find himself on the outside looking in as they go, well, JD Vance wasn't a part of any of this. JD Vance has to be having a conversation right now with people going, I'm ready. I was anointed by the best of Donald Trump. I wasn't here for all the bad stuff that Donald Trump did. That was before my time. But people love us together. Put me in, coach. You've got to be thinking that JD Vance is having that conversation. Rox, do you think that JD Vance is having that conversation? Because again, I think JD Vance respects the president. I think he likes working with the president. I think he did a genuine 180, went from hating the guy to saying, hold on, the Democrats have gotten out of hand. This guy's got important things to say. And I don't blame him for that. I think the Democrats got way out of hand. I think we're learning every day how bad the Democrats really made things during the 4 years of Biden. I don't doubt any of that. But if you're JD Vance, you got to be sitting there going, I can get you guys the midterms. If you're JD Vance, you got to be sitting there going, if you can get him out now, If we can get him out by January, I can right this ship and remove the stain of the Epstein controversy in time to keep everybody in place for the midterms. How is JD Vance not having that conversation right now? It's too tempting. It's too tempting. Even if JD Vance loves Donald Trump, even if he hates him, he's sitting there going, 4 years, it's mine. I'm the big dog. I'm next up at the Blatt. Blatt? Plate bat. I'm next up at bat. I'm here. Now all of a sudden you've been given the gift of, hey, maybe you don't have to wait 4 years. Maybe it was just a weird year. You can't be the phoenix and the fire starter and the trailblazer that Donald Trump has been without thinking there might be a chance that you're going to get a knife to the back and it'll be your best friend. And I think right now JD Vance is talking about how sharp is my knife. I mean, Rox, I don't want to end the show without getting your opinion on this one. Do you think JD Vance is having that conversation right now? I would have a hard... That dude's a smart dude with Peter Thiel money behind him. I think the conversation amongst all Republicans right now are, can he weather this? Did he just totally lose it? Again, they're all polling their constituents as we speak. Those Republican campaigns that are getting ready for midterm elections are having their people on the phones. Do you trust the president? Do you believe that this is a Democratic hoax? Do you think the president maybe knew more about Jeffrey Epstein? Does the president lying about Jeffrey Epstein change your opinion about the president and the Republican Party? If he doesn't have a big bat to swing, why would they leave him in the lineup to continue to play? You know? It has been Rox. Well, by the way, well said. Rox says, thank you all for the conversation. It's been nice. He may be thinking it, but I don't think he is discussing it. Well, he's not going to discuss it out in public, but you got to think he's having those conversations with his wife. You'll know it's bad with his people, right? Love you too, Rox. I'm glad we were able to handle this civilly and have a nice little fun conversation. Because I don't think the Democrats, from the Democrats, get enough criticism for really how bad they got things, really how confused and off path and off message things became under their guidance, you know. I think that stuff comes with time. I think a lot more people have woken up to some of the really bad things that were done, you know. And some people still get caught up on the bad things that Donald Trump does to realize, ooh, my side kind of caused all this. But it's neither here nor there. We'll know this is bad if the rumors start that Mike Johnson's talking to JD Vance. If JD Vance and Mike Johnson are having talks and conversations, if who's the guy in the Senate, if that kind of stuff starts happening, it's not good. It is not good. And it's really not good because the liberal media will be all over it and they'll be furthering it. And they'll be feasting on it. And then and that's the thing. Can he get anything done with this out there? And the Republicans will look at that and go, maybe not. And that's where JD has a chance. I don't know if this is president ending, but I can see it. I can see how it might be, you know. And I don't know how anybody can. Hey, maybe it goes away tomorrow. But if you told me today, hey, in a month from now, we could be talking about impeachment and removal based off of what else we're going to get. Because you can see the path. You can see, well, 4 more Republicans flipped and signed the petition. Well, it got all the votes it needed. Well, Trump vetoed it after it went through the House and the Senate, but they're gonna rise above the veto, and we're gonna get. You can see it. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm not guaranteeing it's going to happen, but you can see that path coming to fruition. All right, Friday's show. Very excited about this. Update on the top 500 comedians of right now. Yep, I'm back to calling it the top 500 comedians of right now. We're going to go through the complete list of streaming services of what Christmas movies are where. ChatGPT. We're talking Sydney Sweeney.
Show me potato salad.
Apple products. Oh my gosh.
Maybe we should go now.
A lot of stuff. A lot of stuff. Come back Friday. Frankie C back with us Friday, and Erin C with a big game time episode. Love you all.